It is not a secret that the majority of identities are hosted by the big providers, for example, Facebook, Google, MySpace, etc. So my question is about an expert in relationships. So in my company, we're trying to develop an application which needs to expert, friends of a particular user.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, with Facebook, it is not possible. They don't provide any APIs or any protocols open. So the only way to export some information is Facebook is like a jail.
Mm-hmm.
They allow you to migrate from other services, but they don't want you to export.
I agree so far, but what's the
your
question?
your friends, for example, it's a big problem. So my question is, how are you going to tackle these kind of problems of the major providers? For some small sites, they do have a reason to use OpenID and etc. But what are you going to do with the major providers? Facebook, MySpace.
Yeah. Well, MySpace is one of the parties that does actually support all of these open protocols, so they're doing great things. So there's Google, AOL, Yahoo. Facebook, 2 weeks ago, one of the original guys from Facebook said, at the moment, we believe it's good for our business not to allow this export. It's not something that I think is a good thing, both on a personal and professional level. I don't think that that's the way the internet is supposed to work. The internet is supposed to be loosely coupled bits of information, but they think it's a good business model. So it's when enough people realize that you're putting your information in a site that doesn't allow you to do anything useful with it on the rest of the internet, it's when the customers start asking for that, then they're probably going to change. It's not going to be now, but I hope they will. The sooner the better. Any other? No, I'm taking, yeah.
How Google participates in OpenID and Activity, and how Google want to make them independent.
Cool, two good questions. So how we participate is, there's people like me and software engineers who are excited about this topic, and they're putting their time in. That's pretty much what we're doing. We're saying we think these things are so important for an open web that we're going to invest resources and time into thinking about these things, implementing them, writing libraries, going to places like this and telling people about these cool new protocols in the hope that it will help the growth of it on the internet. So the way we're helping it is, on the one hand, investing in it, and on the other hand, we implement those protocols in our own services as well. And how do we make sure that it's open? As I said in the beginning, open means community governed. All the IP, intellectual property, etc. is with instances like the Open Web Foundation, which is a bit like the Apache Software Foundation. It's a non-profit. There's a group of people from all kinds of companies that came together that said, we think it's incredibly important that these things remain open and that only the community have a saying of it. So Google doesn't look for the intellectual property and copyrights, etc. We want to make it as open as possible for everyone.
But no, this technology is developing by another companies. This is a intellectual property of another company.
All the protocols I talked about is not the intellectual property of anyone, except an Open Web Foundation, for instance, a non-profit organization that says, we're not going to express patents, we're not going to claim copyright on this, anybody can use it, you're open to use it anywhere you want.
And Google can make own API on the open protocols, yeah?
No, because everything is being developed in the community and it's owned by the community.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I mean, that's the whole point of open, otherwise it'd be just another closed solution. It's not at all where we want to go to. Any questions in the back? Because I might have missed you with all these bright lights. No? Anyone else? Question? Oh, in the back there, yeah. If you wait for the microphone, we'll be able to hear you.
Which Google services do implement this piece open? which Google products make use of these OpenSocial features?
Yeah, so OpenSocial, that's I'm going to do the next session about that, so I'll go into more detail there. But I Google Orchid and a couple of other social properties that we have all support OpenSocial. If you have Google Apps for your domain, or if you're a Gmail user, whatever, you can use that identity as an OpenID already. We're not accepting OpenID as a login on all services yet, and that's something that I and other people within Google are working on to try to make that possible as well. That's being worked on. There's a question here somewhere, I think. Yeah.